Welcome, you're watching Head to Head with UATV and I'm Antonina Antosha. Women may be a more vulnerable category at the countries with emerging economies, but also they may bring their hidden potential and add a unique value into the economic development. Undeterred, The 6 Success Habits of Women in Emerging Economies is an award-winning book that has been recently translated into Ukrainian. This is an advice book written expressly for educated women in developing countries. It is intended to encourage and guide women in their careers and businesses. And we welcome in our studio today Rania Anderson. She's the author of Undeterred book and also is an international keynote speaker and executive business coach. Hello, Rania, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back in Ukraine.
Thank you. So what is your book about? What is the idea behind this book?
The book comes from 4 years of research interviewing women in emerging economies around the world, asking them not about their obstacles and their problems, but their pathway to success. How do women like you in countries like Ukraine get ahead? How do women in Saudi Arabia? How do women in Mexico? How do women in South Africa? And what I found was that all these women had in common 6 habits that they used together.
Could you please stop more on those 6 habits, because I am dying to know.
Absolutely. And you will not find these different for you because you'll recognize yourself in them. The first is that they have a mindset that they can find a way to their success. No matter what the difficulty or the obstacles, that is being undeterred. Undeterred, it doesn't mean not giving up or trying harder. It means to find a way. Secondarily, they prepare for success. They get the education, they have the confidence, they do what they need to do to be successful. They are focused, they know what they're going after in terms of their career. It could change, but they're not just, going with the flow. They integrate their work and their life, and you gave me an example of that a second ago by bringing your daughter to work. They know that livelihood, work, is a part of life, and those two things have to fit together. Fifth is they take the actions that get them ahead. And this is obviously a complex category, but there are specific things that can help you in your career. And lastly, they lead. Regardless of their role, even if they're 20 years old and just starting out, they're thinking of themselves as taking a position and providing some leadership regardless of their job.
Why developing economies? Why are we not talking about the countries that already have a successful economy? Why only developing economies?
So we have hundreds, maybe thousands of books and articles written by about women succeeding in those economies, so we already know a lot about them. These growing economies, developing and emerging economies, are the future. Thirdly, even though women in developed countries will have the same habits, it's done differently in emerging economies. And women were asking me for culturally relevant advice. Let me give you an example.
Yeah, please do.
So if you said to me, I would like a raise on the TV station, and you were in the United States, I will guide you in a different conversation to have with your boss than if you're in Ukraine or South Africa or Kuwait. I will still guide you in a conversation to have with your boss about your salary, but it's going to be a different conversation than a woman would have with her boss in Germany or the United States.
What's the difference? I want to know.
So if you were in the United States, I would tell you to go to your boss and say, look, here's what's happening with the TV show, here's my viewership, here's my this, and I haven't gotten a raise, and this is what I want, and make it happen, right?
So basically blackmail.
No, basically very direct. These are the results. This is what I have done. This is what I would like to be compensated. Yeah, this is how I want to be compensated.
And what about a developing country?
So in a developing country, the conversation is much more nuanced. It is more about, boss, what are you seeing? What are you thinking? How are you feeling about the results? here's the role I'm playing in that. I would like to be a continuing part of this and help it be more successful. It's been a while. What do you think? It's much more of an exchange. It's a little bit of a dance. But again, the woman is going to ask for the raise. It's just a little more nuanced.
Okay. I have a quote by you that goes, if we don't act like women, then where is the diversity? What do you mean by that?
So for many years, women were taught to act like a man. Be more aggressive, be like this.
Competitive, right?
Yes, this is how men talk like this, be like this. Well, what's the point if we're all the same of having different people from different perspectives, right? We have to be who we are to communicate in the way that we communicate, to bring the perspective we have. One of the most important things for people to know about me and what I think is that it's not that women want to be ahead of men or behind men, but that together we know, the data shows us, we make better decisions, we make more money, we are more creative. So we each have to bring our strengths and not to be like the other.
Gender equality is still a really controversial issue right now, even in the modern society. Why do you think it is so?
I think there's a lot of fears around what does it mean.
Are those fears of men? Is it men who are feared that women may be equal?
I think there are some men absolutely who do, but what I'm finding more and more now, and I've actually just written a second book, and I'm going to be doing some work here in Ukraine, specifically to this point. More and more men are approaching me to ask me how they can work better with women, how they can hire more women, how they can promote more women, how they can work better for women as their boss, because they know that that's going to be the future. And so we have some men who maybe are fearful that it means they're going to lose their job, or that the women are going to get promoted over them, or that, as one young man asked me in eastern Ukraine yesterday, that we think we are better than them. Yes, there are men like that, and I think that's part of it. The other part is, I think we haven't done a very good job talking about why we want gender equality. We make it like it's something good for women. Gender equality is good for boys, it's good for men, it's good for businesses, it's good for economies. Women are not a problem, they are a solution. And so we have to do a better job communicating about the benefits, the economic and social benefits of equality.
You just mentioned a second book. What is it going to be about?
It's a book to give advice to men on how to work more collaboratively with women, what they can do to specifically attract more women to come and work for them, because we have a talent shortage, and educated women in emerging economies this is not an emerging economies book, it's a global book, are very much needed. What they can do to help women advance in their company, them specifically, not their company through policies, but them individually. How can they engage? How can they be a better partner both at home and at work?
We absolutely need to hear at least one of those advice.
So we're having a presentation at America House, and it's America House and the U.S. Embassy that brought me here, that translated my first book, and we're having a session where we said you can only come a man and a woman. You
so
have
there's
to
a
register if, as two, not a couple, meaning your colleague.
Yeah.
And we have a full house, and I'm absolutely really excited and looking forward to it. And I would tell you that in all of my research and all the work that I do, that is the missing piece of the puzzle to unlocking how we're going to get to a more equal place.
That is so great. Could you perhaps share a story of a success from your first book from a successful woman? that followed all of those 6 steps or had all of those 6 qualities you've described at the beginning of the interview.
Would you like a Ukrainian example?
Of course.
Okay, so she's not in my book, but
that's even better.
Because I didn't know her when I wrote the book, so she was not one of the women that I interviewed. But it's a young woman who works at Naftagaz, and she first studied abroad and developed herself and prepared herself to be successful. And then she saw what was happening in Ukraine and the opportunities that were going to happen in the energy sector.
So she came back.
She came back, and she was in a more senior job, but she took a lower level job, playing the end game. How am I going to get where I need to go? Well, they're not going to give me this, so I'm going to start here. And she was so prepared, she was so knowledgeable that when really high up people, minister would ask a question, she would know the answer. And people started to notice her, which is one of those accelerate things. You become visible. You are indispensable. People want you on their team. And they recognized her in that. And she got, the opportunities to advance. Now she leads a big legal team. She is also, doing good things for herself in her life. And a funny story I will tell about her. I tell it all the time. She probably doesn't like it that I do that.
Never mind.
But she, for example, it's a small example of how women have to take care of themselves. She knows that if she eats a lot of fruits every night, she's going to feel better. She's going to have more energy. So that's a priority for her. And in all of our work, right, we can't lose ourselves as women, as wives, as mothers, as daughters. And we have to, the airplane thing when they say put the oxygen mask on yourself first, we have to put the oxygen mask on yourself and first. And one of the things that I admire so much about her is she's very successful in her work, but she's also taking care of herself.
That is so great. Thank you for sharing this story with us. And thank you for coming, and thank you for telling about your book. I hope your second book is the same success as your first one.
Great. I'm going to just show it to everyone in case they're looking for it in the bookstore.
All right.
Thank you.
So look for the book in the bookstores. And that was Rania Anderson on her book, Undeterred, recently published in Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned with UATV.